Good afternoon, everyone. Um, this is in a conference. I think these sessions are called the graveyard sessions, which are just before or after the lunch. So sorry for keeping you away. I think we have also been put on a short timer. So we'll jump into this session without further delay. Kumar, Phaneesh, logistics is going through huge transformation. And the incumbents are trying to adapt as much as they can. There are third-party providers who are creating new tech, new software, SaaS solutions to solve for their problem. But what it is doing in the process is there are too many integrations that are required. There are too many softwares which are operating, and that can impact how this all works. So you both at ShipGlobal and Porter are in the middle of all this, maybe the front runners. So my question to you is that, what is really needed? We hear the word interoperable, tech. What is really needed for a seamless supply chain with all the challenges that you see in this system?
I'll take it.
Okay, from the top of my mind, information and data is crucial, and stitching all the data today is more important than anything else. How that works is if the data is fragmented and kept in silos, what good that does bring in terms of transparency, in terms of tying up that system. Tying up the system means integrating different data and information together to create a logic on top of it. If there is no data which is being shared, what is the logic that you're going to develop in terms of pattern recognition, in terms of efficiency for that matter, right? So I think that is one of the challenges, and that is something that I foresee should be solved in the ecosystem for a player such as ShipGlobal as well as Porter, which is domestic and global both. I think to finish now.
I mean, you asked me a very pertinent question, Ankur.
Can you be a little
Ask us
louder, I
both.
think?
Everyone is able to hear me, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I think multi-integration problem always exists, not just in logistics, but in all industries, wherever there are different kinds of systems, different players that are there. And which is why I think SaaS is under threat right now. Especially AI has come in and made a level playing field for all the large players, the legacy and the incumbent giants, to create these kind of additional systems that these SaaS players could come in and provide these kind of niche products. So yeah, I do feel that that's gonna, there is gonna be a level playing field at one point of time where interoperability between systems would be solved to a large extent. And coming to what Kumar mentioned, I do agree that a lot of times whatever data that goes in, data sanity, all of those are very important. Say for example, in logistics, I think we are moving away from the pin code based address identification to a lat long based identification. So largely, if you look at courier companies, they always mention their serviceability network in the terms of how many pin codes they cover. Um, for example, I think Safe Express once said that they cover the amount of pin codes that they cover is only matched by Indian Army. I mean, so that's the kind of the coverage that they said, not verified. I mean, I'm just saying what I heard. So in a lot of instances, what happens is that these pin codes nowadays are being replaced by actual lat longs. And when customers, when they are inputting the field, if let's say all of the D2C brands and the intermediaries like you have these web portals that take these orders, if they are not able to capture those lat longs, it becomes really difficult for players like us or any other players to do accurate deliveries. And that's when the gentleman asked a question about RTOs. I mean, 50% of the RTOs are because of wrong addresses. It's not because of wrong intent. And that's what I think is the need of the hour, where everyone understands that they have that systems that capture, in addition to the address, the actual latitude, longitude of the customer, so that we can do pinpointed deliveries faster and in a more accurate manner.
No, no, that's absolutely, and the world will move more e-commerce, and the world will move more towards shipping, logistics, and today you are doing it on the ground, tomorrow you'll do it on the drones. So, you will need a lot of this. So I've got through my first challenge, which was to use the word interoperability without it's a tongue twister for me. I just cannot get this word right in the first instance. So let's move to something which we understand, which I can at least pronounce better, the Unified Logistics Interface Platform, right? So, Phaneesh, my question to you specifically is, how can ULIP improve last mile delivery efficiency for hyperlocal and urban logistics players like Porter?
Main thing is discoverability. I mean, if there are two things that the government now is working on, I mean, of course, it's a part of India stack. But in logistics, one is ULIP, wherein you are able to find discoverability among all the different players. It's a level playing, or you can say that it is one particular platform where you can discover multiple players. The other one is ONDC, of course. So I feel that ULIP is, sits on ONDC. ONDC is largely focused to last mile, but ULIP is more global. It takes into account last mile, mid mile, long haul systems, intercity, intracity, express parcel, courier, PTL, all of these, are covered on ULIP. So I think it's more broad based. I don't think so. It's very specific only to last mile. ONDC is definitely a field where I think it's growing at an amazing CAGR. I think we haven't seen this kind of a growth happening on any kind of a
Anywhere in the world.
anywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, first UPI, now ONDC. I mean, these are some very big steps that the government has taken. Kumar, coming to you, what are the innovations you see in the world of ULIP for the global supply landscape?
So let's go back into a little bit of context of what ULIP delivers, right? ULIP is consolidating and converging all of this information and giving it to you. The use cases really rely on the top layer of what exactly you want to build. So the kind of trends that I'm seeing in the market right now is, for example, let's say route optimization, right? In terms of capacity buying, in terms of finding out, even in terms of discoverability, where exactly are these export nodes? What is the most prominent routes that are being used by these, let's say, e-commerce companies or whoever is launching their own marketplaces? So this is a brilliant use case to have, and all we have to do is figure a way backwards and figure out, okay, this is a problem statement. How do we use the data that ULIP gives? Because if you go through the APIs that ULIP gives, it's mostly get functions. That means you can scrape off any data and information that the government already has, and it brings out different agencies together. DGFT, you get IEC code, right? You get GST data. We combine all of this data to identify the vendor. Let's say a lot of MSMEs, let's say take an example of smaller handicraft guy in Jaipur or a handloom person out of Calcutta. There is a very big entry barrier for these folks to enter into exports. With a little bit of transparency, they at least have that motivation to enter first. And then you have these use cases in terms of that, okay, now I have transparency. Now what is my most optimized route or way where I can scale up my business? Can I grow? I will jump into the business, but can I grow? These are the trends that I see in the market for which products are being built. And this is where ULIP should be leading in terms of both ways integration, as well as inter-government integrations, right? ULIP is, again, data on domestic suppliers, domestic businesses. What we are seeing next is whether, let's say, IATA is there, whether ULIP and IATA tie down well together. Let's say, European Union's centralized convergence of all of this data, the systems they have made, are they going to tie up very well with the ULIP system that we are trying to create? This is when it takes to a whole new level.
That is very good. And changing gears, these days, no discussion is complete without talking about Gen AI and blockchain. And I think when it comes to logistics, I think blockchain is a very, very good, relevant use case. People often mistake blockchain with just cryptos, but I think the use cases go beyond. So, whether it is blockchain, IoT, AI, right? These are all the technologies which in different form, shape, manner are simplifying certain operations, but also complicating for people like you who are managing the tech or managing the business behind. So, Phaneesh, my question is, how does Porter plan to adopt AI or machine learning to further enhance the operation in this interoperable framework?
Oh, there are, I mean, countless applications that are possible. I think one of the biggest questions that keep getting asked, and I think I would like to answer here is that how do you understand who is the best fit driver or let's say a partner, a delivery partner to assign to a particular order? How do you ensure that frauds don't happen? How do you ensure people do not cancel before coming? Because after all, we are a goods transport agency, and the way we do our business is to enable the driver partners to find the customers and vice versa. Right. So I think the biggest application that we have is how we do allocation. I think if a machine learns that quickly, if there are certain spots that need more dense drivers, we show them demand hotspots. That enables them to come to those hotspots, increases their earnings, because after all, it is how well you are able to manage this entire ecosystem. If the driver is happy with you, then he gives better service. Better service means it's more customers, and there goes the virtuous cycle. Right. So definitely allocation is one application where AI is definitely being used. We use different machine learning systems that are out there to constantly keep ourselves updated based on past historic data, and then predict the future of how it's going to happen. The second bit, I think, is where we will need a lot of help from the ecosystem. I think it's the later part of how to weed out fraudulent drivers. I mean, and no matter what you do, there is always the small minority that ruins it for everyone, right? So let's say nowadays AI, and there are companies who do this, where they are able to share data between different drivers, a sort of a CIBIL score of sorts, the way you have, which identifies, okay, does this driver, before even joining the system, is he a good fit for your ecosystem or not? How well do you think he will perform, let's say 3 months hence, 6 months hence? And the average tenure of a gig rider is about 3 years, 4 years. I mean, they do it at a certain phase of their life, and then afterwards they move on. There are very few riders who do it, for a longer period. But then that's where a lot of AI tools, that's where a lot of these machine learning systems, and as you mentioned, blockchain technology, which is register where everything gets fed, would be having a very good use case in a business like ours.
No, thank you for that. And, Kumar, coming to you, what is on your wish list? What is it that, a feature you wanted in the space of interoperability to exist, but does not exist today, or at least you are not aware, and you would want, some of these folks who may be developing, some working, what is on your wish list, 1, 2, 3 things that you would really like to evaluate from a tech perspective to incorporate in ShipGlobal?
So first of all, that being a tongue twister, let's just call it data sharing. Let's just call it data sharing, mutual data sharing between all stakeholders, right? Just for that everybody is on the same page. Now, think of data sharing in a way that, okay, why should I give you my data? The right incentive does not exist, right? Even if ULIP is bringing certain kind of data from the government agencies that they're fetching this data from, but the right incentive for all the stakeholders to share that data while exchanging does not exist today, right? Or if this, the first thing that is in my wish list is a dual system, right? Something, take an example of Truecaller. You would never share your contact details or the entire contact list to somebody, if that matter. But you are with Truecaller, yes, right? Because it's a give and take system. You want to know something, you're getting something. There's a typical Google model, right? You're the product.
Yes.
Similar way, if
anything's for free, then you're
exactly, you're the product. If you want to see interoperability in existing, then mutual data sharing has to be governed, has to be present with mutual benefits, right? It has to be a two-way system. It has to be a two-way street. So one of the things that we're missing out is, can there be a neutral agent? Can there be a neutral technology which A, guides through this, which enables this two-way communication between these systems, B, which is also governed properly, so that it is compliant to all the international standards, for example GDPR, because we also get a lot of information from customers from Europe and compliance towards every different regions that we have. But this would be on the top of my wish list.
Anything you want to add there, Phaneesh? Anything which is on your wish list? I'm sure there are a lot of founders out there who are making notes because they want to come to you guys.
Yeah, of course. I mean, again, seamless systems that work with each other. Instead of just having competition. So I was in an event yesterday in Mumbai where people were mentioning that sustainability in logistics can be done by sharing of resources. Let's say ports in question, right? I mean, the utilization of ports is at 40%. How to increase that? Otherwise, it's not going to be a sustainable model. And it means that there needs to be some amount of cooperation between different players. You might be my competitor, but hey, you can use my port when I'm not utilizing it. Something similar in our industry. Everyone needs to cooperate and coordinate with each other. And that's how the ecosystem develops.
Easier said than done, though.
Easier said than done. But yeah, it does happen. We have seen that happening between large tech systems, between Microsoft and Apple. I think they were cutthroat competitors, but they did come together when it was needed.
Yeah, I mean, when the need is there, people will find ways. Going back to ULIP, you explained it's serving more of a domestic purpose today, and then it has to be then linked internationally. But so, if there is any one challenge you want it to be instantly fixed, challenge that you see in ULIP as it exists today, what would that fix be?
Oh, shall I? Yeah, I think first of it is, as I mentioned, right, the most of the APIs, if you go through them, these are get functions. That means you can get information, right? Imagine a situation where, let's say, a seller comes to us, a vendor comes to us for any logistics, anything, right, books an order, and directly this information gets passed on to different agencies. So booking an order, let's say getting an IC code, registering a seller, everything gets passed on to the government through a partner, let's say a 3PL logistics company or somebody at the source of where the vendor is coming to. This will reduce the barrier to entry and redundancy to a larger scale, right? Because now what is happening, still they have to run to the government agencies that we are mentioning here, and they have to get these kind of information. They have to get their IC code, they have to get their AD code, a lot of custom documentations, everything. What ULIP does right now is it consolidates it. Why not reverse, and then while we are registering for shipments, while we are putting on these documentation, why not have a receive too?
Excellent. Very relevant. Anything, Phaneesh, you want to add?
I think mine extends beyond ULIP. I think government is doing a lot of things, but I think the ease of business needs to be a bit more better. Of course, at any given point of time, you still have, even though ULIP is there, we still see that road rules, the RTO rules are different in different states. There's no single, let's say, rule that applies. Like a true federal structure. So I think we would need more ground up, which sort of helps these kind of national integration projects like ULIP, ONDC, and all to thrive and survive and thrive.
No, absolutely. I think that integration of different governmental agencies, where the data talks to each other, where the people needs talk to each other, I think that we have reached a stage where we need that because every state will have their own laws. Yesterday I read in the newspaper today, we were at Grab 4 in the morning, or Grab 3 in the morning, and then Grab 4 in the afternoon. And, my driver took out the car and they were like, okay, at 4 p.m. you can't take this car back now. So I guess our intent is there that we need to solve for it, but I think the communication and that connection has to be better there. Let me not hog, there's 5 minutes left. That's what the clock is telling me. I will open up the questions to the audience. If you have the questions for our panelists. Yes, I see a hand in the back, please.
Yeah, hello. I see the discussion more about the Indian context, but how about the Indian external trade? Could you please address some points and concerns and the opportunities for growth in that area?
So can you please repeat that question?
He's saying that a lot of our discussion today was focused on Indian context, domestic. He's talking about, same topics, but largely more global perspective.
So are you talking about an interoperable system globally?
Yeah, the Indian trade is going to grow exponentially, or maybe surely going to increase because of this India's government's push towards manufacturing. Okay, so this global trade is more now paper-based, and the ports need to be ports, and also the operability from the factories to the ports and also to the hubs and then the airports. All this needs a lot of digitization and then communication with the external parties outside India. And all of that has huge potential for disruption and then also surely growth. So do you have any take on that?
See, you're absolutely right. The direction ULIP is taking is towards that. As I said, the collection of data is most domestic, but the use case is international. If you look at it, the agencies that are involved, like DGFT, FIO, all of these agencies are involved there. These are all looking after cross-border trades, right? The idea here is to create a use case first. Let's say we are creating a use case for e-commerce, and we are creating a seamless supply chain for that, end-to-end transparency, end-to-end integrations with every stakeholder that is present there, right? Then it goes to something like a C, and then we open up countries. For example, the example that I gave a couple of minutes ago about IATA and ULIP talking to each other, right? These systems have to exist. There is no second. You're absolutely right. These are use cases, and we have to go that way. The point is, again, taking notes if anybody is a founder and trying to develop new things, the bridge has to be either logistics companies, either tech platforms that are trying to bring these stakeholders together, because harmonized systems do not exist. There are some players which are using legacy systems, monolithic designs, and there is a need of development on top of that, right? So again, the onus is on every stakeholder in the middle, not just the government of India, but the systems when they have to inter-government and inter-countries. So everybody has to come together to do this. Again, this comes back to the fact of interoperability. I hope.
Any other question? Anyone? Okay, I think.
I guess hunger trumps curiosity, so.
As you said, grave hardship, right?
Yes, no, but so thank you, Phaneesh, thank you, Kumar. I think as a space, logistics is, making huge, is entering into like new spaces that have not been seen. I'm sure that when you would have started working or started studying versus what you see today, times have changed. I'm sure that things will only change more in the future. We could have not imagined when we used to wait for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks for something to come from locally. Now things are coming within 10 minutes and you can actually track that. So there's like a lot of development that has happened. Today riders are making 50,000-60,000 rupees a month. It may be a short-lived career, but it's a career that pays reasonably well and to lakhs and lakhs of people. And yes, the challenges are there. I think you gave some good ideas to some of the founders out there. And I'm assuming that if you are building that idea, you should reach out to these companies, both for business and for funding. You can also come to IPV and Physis for the same. But thank you, everyone. Thank you, my panelists. Thank you, all the audience, for giving us your time. Thanks.
Thank you so much.